Trick Shot was released for the Atari 2600 by Amagic in 1982. Now, there are a lot of different types of billiard games, and games on the 2600 were big on packing in as many variations into a simple game as they could to maximize the content, even if it meant misleading people into believing there were a double-digit number of video games bundled into one cart. But Trick Shot is limited to straight pool, or at least its own variation of it, English billiards, and trick shot practice. There were only 3 object balls plus the cue ball on the screen at a time at maximum. Not sure if this was a sprite limitation or if the game would just lag like a motherfucker if there ever were more on the screen. Either way, because of this, you can't play 9-ball, let alone 8-ball, and basically any other game in a legit fashion. So the modified version of straight pool they came up with for this game is basically the same as regular straight pool, only there are 3 object balls instead of 15. You don't re-rack until all the balls are cleared, as opposed to 1 remaining, and you get a 2-point bonus for clearing the last ball on the table. So you can easily win the game without pocketing as many balls as your opponent, since the 3rd ball counts as 3 points essentially. The bonus points are weird, but they do make things interesting with the stakes raised on pocketing that last ball. The extra points scored also helps the game move along quicker, as does the fact that you don't lose a point when you scratch. Hell, even the points you score on a play where you do scratch still counts. Then there's English Billiards, which is a slightly more complicated game where each player has their own cue ball, and you score points in different increments depending on how you sink your opponent's ball, the neutral red ball, or even your own ball, depending on how they collide off each other. It's a different, quirky game, but I kind of like it as a novelty. There are 32 points around the cue ball you can use to line up your cue, which sounds like a lot, and for the 2600 it is impressive. I mean, that's a total of 8 points you can aim on just 1/4 of the ball. But once you put it into practice, you realize how wide a gap each point is when you try to cut the ball at a certain angle. You find that you can't do it with a straight shot, but there are ways around it. By holding the joystick, you can put English or spin on the ball, which gives you some wiggle room of adjusting the fine angles that you can't hit on. The game also cuts you some slack by expanding the pockets quite a bit from how they normally would be scaled. On paper, a good pool game on the Atari 2600 sounds like a bridge too far. I just wouldn't expect the execution to be right. But Amagic did more with less, and despite some limitations, still managed to throw together a decent little pool simulator.